Hola, buenas tardes. I know it's been a while since I've seen a lot of you. I miss having you in class, and I do look forward to having you in class again in the future. So, with that being said, I know I said I was going to try to post a lesson a week, but I've gotten busy, and so these are going to be short lessons. They're all going to be different. And we have another friend. This is also Momo. Hi. Named after the character in Avatar: The Last Airbender. And anyway, so in case you could probably tell from the screen, today's mini lesson will be on elections and voting. So I'll speak mainly in Spanish and I'll speak slowly. I'll translate to English when necessary. And this is just so you can get a little bit more exposure to Spanish on especially important topics, especially now. I know you're all young and you're years away from being able to vote, but it's never too early to get started researching and getting educated on how the government works, how voting works, what the president does, why senators are important, what the House does. So, we'll have a mini lesson on that en español ahora. So, hola Momo. Hola, buenas tardes todos. Encantada para conoceros. Okay, I know I do that voice. It's not because I think you guys sound like, it's just that's a voice I do. So, just to differentiate that it's not me, it's Momo speaking. Okay, anyway, so, todos saben que Biden y Harris ganaron las elecciones en los Estados Unidos. So, cada 4 años, las personas, los ciudadanos en los Estados Unidos votan para el presidente y el vicepresidente. El primer martes después del primer lunes de noviembre. So, esto es el sitio de web, es usa.gov, español proceso electoral. So this is an official US government website about voting, but it's in Spanish. So I'll put this with this video, the link to this with the video. So this is just describing elecciones primarias, presidenciales y caucus. So, antes de la elección general, la mayoría de los candidatos a presidente pasan por una serie de elecciones primarias y asambleas de partidos o caucus a nivel estatal. So that just means that before the primary elections, before the main election, the candidates go through primary elections and assemblies where they talk about their platform, what they hope to do during the presidency, why you should vote for them, maybe why you should not vote for the other side, that kind of stuff. So then this is just so you can get to know the candidates, los candidatos de los partidos principales. So that's going to be the liberals, or they sometimes like the liberals, the red side, or the conservatives, the blue side. No, sorry, I got that wrong. Liberals are the blue and red is the Republicans, the conservatives, blue is liberals, Democrats. So, with that being said, tenemos convenciones nacionales. So, después de las elecciones primarias y las asambleas de los partidos políticos, la mayoría de ellos realizan convenciones nacionales durante las cuales lanzan la campaña para las elecciones generales. So this is just saying after the primary elections and the caucuses, most of the candidates go to the national conventions, convenciones nacionales, and this is where they realize their campaign for the general election. So, colegio electoral, the electoral college. So, en otras elecciones que se llevan a cabo en Estados Unidos, los candidatos son elegidos directamente por voto popular. So this is just saying that in other elections in the United States, there are candidates that are voted by a popular vote. So that just means that if one candidate gets 100 votes and another gets 101, then the candidate with 101 people voting for them wins. So that's the popular vote. So that's a quick and easy way. It's like if someone gets 1 million votes, someone else gets 2 million, the one with 2 million votes wins. Easy enough. So that's for like smaller offices, let's say like state offices or city offices, local, that kind of stuff. So, sin embargo, en el caso de las elecciones para presidente y vicepresidente, el resultado no depende directamente del voto ciudadano. So this is saying that for the president and vice president, the result does not depend on the citizen vote count. So it doesn't matter if candidate A got, in this case, I'll use this past election. So it doesn't matter if Trump got, let's say, 50 million votes and Biden got 49,900,000 votes, for example. That doesn't necessarily mean, that's total votes. So like 50 million people voted for Trump and 49,900,000 people voted for Biden, let's just say. So that doesn't mean that Trump won. Just because he had that many people vote for him does not mean that he won the presidency. So los ganadores son determinados por el votos de los electores, quienes son parte de un proceso llamado colegio electoral. And then you can see in this map, so this is, you guys might know some of this, might not. I didn't until I was older. So this is just, all these numbers are how many votes each state counts for. And it's based on population. So California has like the most votes because it has the largest population of any other state. Like Hawaii, it has very few people. Same with Wyoming and Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota. Those states have those small populations, so their votes count for less. So like you could have, so for example, say that we go with the example of Trump had 50 million people vote for him on the dot. Let's just, for simplicity's sake. Y Biden tiene, and I'll say this in Spanish, Biden tiene 49, what did I say? 49,900,000? Yeah. People vote for him. But those 49,900,000 people could come from California, Texas, Arizona, Florida, Illinois, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, New York. Like if he got those votes from the states with the most, so let's say Biden won a fewer number of votes, but they all came from these states that have a lot of points, then Biden would win. Even though technically he had about 100,000 fewer people vote for him, he would still win the election because he had the largest number of electoral college votes. So, see, presidential election 2020. So this is what everyone was probably looking at for a long time. So this has all the up-to-date data. So for example, you have here Illinois is worth 20 votos electorales. And then you can see 55% de las personas votaron por Biden. And then, but here in Texas, 52.1% de personas votaron por Trump. So, and then you see 38 electoral votes. So if you take those electoral votes and add them up, so like let's say 38 más, 7 más, 6 más, 5 más, 3 más, 3 más, like if you add up all these red states, that's going to get you, to 214. So Trump had 214 electoral votes, so that he won those states. And then Biden won 279, 279, because he won these blue states. And then gray just means that and then the battleground means like these were important states to determine the election. And then projected winner means like, oh, that's who they thought they were going to win. But anyway, so you can go to a site like this, and it's very useful. And I'm sure your parents all looked at this a lot between election day and when they finally announced the winner, who was Biden this year. So it just happens that Biden also has more people in general who voted for him. But with this way, technically Biden could have had, let's say, 70 million people vote for him versus Trump's 71 million. And still Biden could have won the state, like this more populated states, and he would have won the election. So that's it. It's kind of hard to understand at first, but not too bad. So then that's what the Colegio Electoral is. And then here's a video sobre requisitos para ser presidente de los Estados Unidos.
Requisitos para ser presidente de los Estados Unidos. Muchas personas sueñan con ser presidente de los Estados Unidos, pero para postularse oficialmente a ese cargo, una persona necesita cumplir con 3 requisitos básicos establecidos por la Constitución. Un candidato presidencial debe ser ciudadano de los Estados Unidos por nacimiento, tener por lo menos 35 años de edad, ciudadano de los Estados Unidos.
So, ser ciudadano de los Estados Unidos, they have to be a citizen of the United States. So they can't just come here from France and then say, hey, I want to be president of the United States. And they've been in the States for like 2 days.
Unidos por nacimiento, tener por lo menos 35 años de edad.
They have to be at least 35 años, 35 years old.
Y haber residido permanentemente por 14.
That's annoying. So, haber residido permanentemente por 14 años en el país. So they have to have resided permanently in the United States for 14 years at least. Like 14 consecutive years beforehand. So they couldn't have moved to, I don't know, let's say they couldn't have moved to China for 3 years and then like, hey, I come back to the States, I'm now running for president. Like, they have to be in the United States so they know what's going on. They can campaign, that kind of stuff.
14 años en el país. Paso número 1. Primarias y asambleas de partidos. Las personas con ideas similares generalmente pertenecen al mismo partido político. Los 2 partidos principales de los Estados Unidos son el republicano y el demócrata. Muchas personas quieren ser presidente, por eso hacen campaña por todo el país y compiten para ganar la nominación de su partido. En las asambleas o caucuses, los miembros del partido se reúnen, discuten y votan por quién creen que sería el mejor candidato para el partido. En las primarias, los miembros del partido votan en las elecciones estatales por el candidato que quieren que los represente en las elecciones generales.
So then in these elections, you take, let's say, 3 or 4 different people who are Republican and running for president, and you vote which one you think would be best as a Republican president. So you're like, hey, we got Trump, we got Kanye, we got, I don't know, for president. And then you vote. So you're like, oh, I think Kanye will be a better representation of our party, or Trump will be. Or like for the Democrats, like, oh, I think Biden will be good. So that's what these are. You vote for who's going to be on your party for the actual voting day.
Paso número 2. Convenciones nacionales y elecciones generales. Después de las elecciones primarias y asambleas, cada partido principal, el demócrata y el republicano, celebra una convención nacional para seleccionar un candidato presidencial. El candidato presidencial del partido anuncia su elección para vicepresidente. Los candidatos presidenciales hacen campaña en todo el país para conseguir el apoyo de los ciudadanos.
So they campaign across the country to win the support al apoyo de los ciudadanos, the citizens. So they go out, they have debates, they'll post TV ads, maybe ads on YouTube now, to say, hey, vote for me because I'm gonna make positive changes for healthcare, or vote for me because I'll lower taxes or something like that.
El día de las elecciones, las personas en todos los estados votan. Paso número 3. El colegio electoral. Cuando las personas votan, realmente están seleccionando los miembros del colegio electoral. La cantidad de votos electorales que recibe cada estado es igual al número total de senadores y representantes que tiene en el Congreso.
So those numbers that each state has, each state has 2 senators. That's just the law. There's 100 senators total, but then miembros de la Casa de Representantes, there's a different number of people in the House of Representatives per state depending on that population. So if you have 1 member in the House, it means you have a tiny population in your country, like you have very few people, or if you have, like New York, you have 27 people in the House of Representatives. It's because you have a lot of people living in New York. So that's where these come from. So the senators plus the House of Representatives.
El colegio electoral está conformado por 538 miembros. Cada miembro del colegio electoral vota después de las elecciones generales. El candidato que obtenga 270.
So then there's 528, I think, 38 votos electorales. So whoever reaches that 270, they win the election. They become president.
Votos electorales o más, gana la presidencia. El presidente y el vicepresidente recién elegidos inauguran su mandato el 20 de enero.
So then Biden will be inducted as the President of the United States January 20th, 2021.
Obtenga más información sobre el proceso.
So that's how the whole process usually works. This has more information on like the process, but what's, I would say, just as important, if not sometimes more important, is voting for your local elections and getting educated on like, who's my governor, who's the state representative, like what do they do, what do they stand for, are they doing a good job, are they doing a bad job, and like research what policies matter to you. So for me, for example, education is obviously very important to me. So I would like to know that the Secretary of Education and people like the governors and stuff, they care about education. They want to put more money towards schools and treating teachers better and students and getting more supplies for the schools. I also care about the environment a lot and equal rights for everyone. So I would look up those issues before I would look up something like taxes. Like, they obviously affect me. I don't want half my paycheck to be given to the government, but I'd rather focus on what candidate is better for the environment. Like, what are their policies? What are they going to do? And something else I like to make sure of is I like to make sure that I go to reputable sites. I get information from both sides. So, for example, I'll read liberal and conservative websites and watch YouTube videos from both sides, podcasts from both sides. Because I like to see what lines up, what sounds ridiculous. I like to find evidence and proof of things. So if someone says something about a candidate, I don't like to believe someone blindly. I like to say, hey, where's the evidence? Like, is there a video that this person said this? Or is there a memo they wrote or something like that? So I think that's really important to look out for, to just fact check everything. and to make sure that even if they say, oh, for example, I'm going to improve recycling. I'm going to make sure that instead of 60% of materials being recycled in Illinois, it goes to like 80%. So that sounds good, but like, what are they going to do to make sure that happens? Or like, oh, we're going to make college education cheaper or free. Fantastic, I'm all for it. But how? Like, ¿cómo? ¿Cómo vas a hacerlo? So that's what I like to look into to make sure that it's not all talk and no action. I want to see like action. Like, obviously, I want you to say nice things, and I want the president, governor, whatever, to be a good person. But I also want to know that they're actually going to do something and be good. So, this is not a lesson to tell you to vote for one side or the other, or to tell you who to vote for or who not to vote for. It's just telling you to get educated. And when we get back in person and we have another election of some sort, like a local election around the corner, I have an idea for a fun interactive activity in the target language, where we kind of do our own election. Like, we have two sides, then you have this debate and you vote for it, or you run for class president, or you present your idea and then you have everyone vote for you versus someone else or another classmate. So I'll explain that more later. This is just more of an, hey, you should get involved. You should get more involved. You should educate yourself. And even when you're at this age, like, education affects you, obviously. Like, our politicians are deciding whether or not it's safe to go back in school. Like, I believe they're the ones that have the final say. So obviously we have our union that helps, but so that's why that's important for you right now. Or in like the cost of maybe certain food, they might tax vegetables. Like, they might increase taxes on vegetables, and that means you can't have as many vegetables. You can't eat as healthily. That affects you. So obviously you're not going to be able to vote for a while because you're not 18, but it's always good to get started at a young age. And then even like look up elecciones en Latinoamérica. So, for example, this website. ¿Qué países de América Latina celebrarán elecciones en 2020? So they have elections in Latin America as well. También. They're not the exact same as the United States, but they do have elections. So like República Dominicana, Guyana, Bolivia, Peru, Chile. So lots of different countries have their own processes. So like El Salvador, Panama, Guatemala. You have your partido. So like derecha, izquierda, centro, derecha. So it's not just the United States. Other countries vote, and it's always good to keep up with what they do, because I know there's a bunch of people in like Australia and Canada that kept up with our election, even though they can't vote and it doesn't necessarily directly affect them as much. But so just like we should keep up with what people are doing in different countries, maybe not as closely, but it's always good to know what's going on around the world. So, and like to know what countries have a president, tienen un presidente, dictador, all this kind of stuff. So but yeah, so let's use this, or you can look up like Biden versus Trump policies. Biden información. Okay, so I'm not finding anything in Spanish, but like something you can see is I'd maybe go to CBS, WSJ, Washington Post, New York Times, and then just click on one and see, okay, so where Biden and Trump stand on the issues, and it would have coronavirus response, and then it would have like support mask mandates nationwide to fight the pandemic, and then it would have some information. So it's always good to look at this and not just look at like whether or not the check mark is checked, but look like supports fast-tracking the development of a safe and effective vaccine. They both obviously said yes, but Trump repeatedly said a vaccine could be available as soon as the fall. False. The chief scientific advisor for Operation Warp Speed, the Trump administrator's effort to accelerate production of a coronavirus vaccine, said that the timeline was possible but very unlikely. And then this is like what Biden said. He would accelerate the development in his plan to combat the coronavirus. He has expressed reservations about whether a coronavirus vaccine approved by the Trump administration would be safe, raising doubts about the president's ability to put the health of Americans before politics. So it's just good to know in like economy and trade, and it's good to know why they support what they do and like what they plan to do. So just stuff like this is important to see, and then there's ones for local elections as well. Yeah, so just thought it'd be an important topic to touch on given everything going on in this country. And yes, Biden was voted president. But again, this is not me telling you who to vote for, what side. It's just saying do your research, don't vote blindly. I mean, again, at such a young age too, maybe just learn the basics and try to figure out what's most important to you. Like, do you really care about the environment, healthcare? Do you care about racism, women's rights? Like, what do you think are the most important issues? And then see if you can maybe work with your parents or siblings to do a little bit of research. And yeah, again, this lesson would be more fun in person, or if I could even just be live with you guys, because I'd have you guys do a little debate thing, and we'd do our own research, and I'd make it so much fun. But this is just, basic education for now. So, with that being said, esto es todo. I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend and enjoyed this weather. I miss seeing you guys, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. So, again, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to respond to emails or Google Classroom comments. And so, yeah. Miss you guys. Adios. Hasta luego. Adios.